Good morning and welcome to my show. I'm your host, Bob Pace, and today the show is about CPS and taking our children. CPS stands for Child Protection Services, and primarily this in California. Other states may use DCF and other acronyms. It's the branch that watches and protects our children and does uh, brings family back together. So I'd like to start off and welcome you all. There's some housekeeping things I like to talk about. One is to interact with the show. You can do it one of several ways. First one is you can text a message, and you need to put your city and state and your name. First names are fine, and it's got to be a professional name. If you come with some ridiculous or derogatory name, I can't have you talk on the show. And also, your language has got to be clean. So you're going to go there and say that I have allegations XYZ. My kids were taken. I had two kids were taken away, and this is my problem. This is my issue, and I'll try to help you out or so forth. That's one way you can interact with this show, and I hope that anybody listening does so. The next way is besides texting and things like that. The next way is to call in live and get on the show where you can be the guest, the host. I mean, not the host, but the guest speaker, and talk about your case. I had one woman last night who talked about her case about her nephew was taken from her that she was watching, and I guess his mom and dad are too far gone. So anyway, she had some interesting insights. But anyway, um, if you want to call in at 626 That's my office phone number. And when you call that number, you'll get me, and we'll go live on the show. Um, Now, with your texting comments there, I will put them on the window there. For some strange reason, they're not shown live. I don't know why, but something I have to work on. Okay, so to call me on my office phone, 626 698 0990. You will reach me, Bob Pace, directly, and I'll talk to you a minute or two and then put you on the show. Um, so that's another way to interact with this show. If you don't feel like you're ready to talk now, or you want to talk the next day or the day after, you can be on one of my shows as a guest speaker by calling in at 888-888-6582, and you want to tell them that Bob Pace sent you. And that one you can pick. Now, I'm on 7 days a week, twice a day. That is 14 shows. It starts at 10 in the morning, and it resumes again at 7 at night. It's 1 hour long. It's on Pacific Standard Time, and I hope that one of you will be a guest on my show. I'd love to have you. But that's if you want to set one up. You pick those dates and times and set it up there. Make sure you tell the people that Bob Pace sent you and that you wanted to set up a show. Now, there's a real important rule that I have with CPS, and that's probably I feel that the most important and the golden rule is to hire an attorney to defend yourself. This is a real serious matter, and it's further complicated because um, CPS is corrupt, they're not transparent, they lie, they deceive. I go on, and this comes not only from where my experiences were in this matter, also comes from people across the country have the similar matter. In fact, we've had so far 4 countries call in. So it's a worldwide epidemic. The problem is that CPS has discovered a way to make money, and they make it billions of dollars a year there, and they're really really unaccounted for and stuff like that. So anyway, if any of you want to talk please, again, call the number or type in a comment, or you can schedule airtime. Now, rule number one, I said, is to get an attorney. And I don't know how important that is, because without an attorney, it's like you do an open heart surgery without a doctor. That's how critical it is. Open heart surgery is a very complicated process. So is fighting CPS and getting your kids back. There's so many hurdles and so much you're up against them that they'll try to break you right away. And so that is hard. And I know that some of you out there, unfortunately, are hitting hard times with no money. I know that feeling. I've been there. So I'm fully aware of that. But this attorney that we have, his law firm's producing the show. It's Vincent W. Davis and Associates, and they have different lawyers for different legal matters. The one that is for this kind of matter, the CPS matter, is a family law attorney, and Mr. Davis is that. He's a professional. He's been doing it for quite some time. He has won cases, and he has gotten the kids back from CPS. But if you're looking for a chance to meet him, he's offering right now a free consultation, 30 to 90 minutes, that he'll sit down and talk to you about your case, about what, strategies and what you can do about CPS and how to interface with them, and how to get your kids back and how to win against CPS. It is a really hard thing to deal with. There's no question about that. But hiring him is really good, and right now he's offering a free 30-minute to an hour session with him. All you have to do is say my name at the office, and you'll get it free of charge there. And he'll go in there, and he will look at certain things with you, and put it in. Strategies that you can put into your case and beat CPS. Also, when you get done with him, you may want to hire him. His retainer is reasonable. It's based on the complexity of your case, how long the case has been going on, where you're located. Of course, he's from Southern California like me, so if you're from further out, it does cost more. But he does have a fair thing, and he can represent you. He knows the law. He worked in all the states, and he works in California. So, yes, your number one valuable tool. You need a doctor to do open heart surgery. You need a professional lawyer. But then you're going to say there and say, whoa, wait a minute. What about the public defenders? And before I forget, to sign up with Mr. Davis to get that free, you got to call the number 888-888-6582 and tell them that Bob Pace sent you, and that you're supposed to get the special rate to be able to see him. That is really important there. So now, with the CPS matter, it's going to take you a long time. It's nothing that's going to happen in 1 week or 2 weeks. I thought it would. My whole involvement with the case, I thought it'd be over really soon. And it really wasn't. So it was really hard to do that. So with further ado, we don't have a guest, and right now I don't see anybody that wants to talk, and I don't see any questions, but feel free to do so. I'll talk about my case and some of the things particulars can help you with fighting CPS. I'm going to jump right into rule number 2. Rule number 2 is you need a notebook, something to write, to take notes. It's so important there because you're meeting with these people, they're making decisions, and they'll be doing this week after week, month after month, year after year, and you need some way to reference these notes. So you do is get a binder, and you need to, put these things into the notes there. The first thing will be the date and time. So you can draw a line down your notebook and put the date and time there. And then after the date and time, you need to put the people that are involved. What were the names of the people? And so you put that there, and then you go ahead and put down what the incident was, and then what the outcome is. So there's 4 components. You put down the date and time, you put down who it involves, and then what was the issue about and how it was settled, because you'll need that to reference it later on when you fight them in court or you get your case in and so forth there. So that's rule number 2. The third rule is very important too. It's that you do not talk to social workers. You don't let them in your home. You don't let policemen let you in home. You don't talk to policemen. It's either yes, no kind of answers. By law, they have to have a court order to enter your home. It has to be a warrant that says specifically XYZ, I want XYZ for the following allegations, and he can look at certain floors or something like that of the home. So I'm telling you that you need to make that distinction between that one and this one. Okay, yeah. So now that takes care of the notebook to keep track of notes, and that way it really will help you. Now I want to go to rule number 3. Rule number 3 is you do not talk to social workers. It's yes, no, and you don't let them in your home. As I said earlier, they need a warrant, even for the police. They will use deception to bring the police to the scene to intimidate you. It's very intimidating, and they use the police wrongly for wrong reasons. Now, I'd like to go back to how this all starts and everything. We have a social organization, social services, and then we have um, the branch of CPS. Now, this branch of CPS is supposed to stop child abuse and child neglect. They're supposed to help out a child that may be abused or has or been neglected. Now, the how this all gets started is allegations. Allegations will come in via phone call, either from professional or common lay people. And in my case, it was my family members on my wife's side that called in all the time complaining of problems with our family. And they weren't substantiated, but you have to understand when allegations are made, CPS believes that they're real, and they will investigate. They're required by law within 24 hours of the complaint to investigate all calls, all complaints. Now, that being said, I think we need to change that. I think all the complaints should be in writing and your name should be signed to it. Just keep it confidential. When someone signs something and puts it in writing, it's a little bit more binding, and that person could be held liable for that. And that's why it's important. Now, they don't have to give out the name to the family or anything else, but it's very important that they give the name. I think because mine was a wrong allegations, and so what had happened is that the allegations um, from my case, I had to answer them, and this went on for about 5 years. What was happening to me and my family in 2010 is I lost my job. And not having a job is a hard thing, especially when you're my age. I'm in my 60s, and it was really, 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 really hard to lose a job. And right away, the family members started calling into social workers and make these allegations. Now, professionals are supposed to mandate by law to call them. So if you're if you test positive by a doctor in a drug test, he's going to call you if you have any children with you. He's going to call CPS and says we've tested positive on the mom or the dad, and for drugs, and then they're going to take the children out. That is a form of neglect. It's not abuse, but it's neglect. So it's really important that you are aware of your rights and how it's going to settle. Now, um, professional like teachers are looking for children that might have burns on their hands. There might be the clothing not fitting right. They haven't eaten, things like that. So they're looking for abuse, neglect. The only problem is sometimes it's treated the same by the social worker as a real case, and they think it's for real, so they treat every case for real. And some of it is a misnomer, like the child was in a soccer game and scraped his knee because he fell down, and so that's easy to explain. But they say it is it's very uh, they say it's some type of injury that the parents cause. Um, I had one parent tell me that the doctor accused her of taking her child and swinging it like a lasso, like a rope. And I said, "How did the doctor determine that?" And she said, "Well, he didn't. He just assumed it, I guess." So that was pretty. That was pretty bad. That was definitely pretty bad. So um, let me see here. I'm just looking for. Okay. Um, okay. All right. So the allegations are the hard part. And with my case, the family members were said they're saying there was no lights in our house. Even though they lived in another state, they were saying there were no lights. We didn't pay our bills. The gas wasn't on. The water bill, the trash, whatever, it's all the bills they said weren't taken care of, which is far from the truth. Just because you lose a job doesn't mean it's the end of the world. I just adjusted my income source and I had savings, so it wasn't that bad at first. I was okay for a couple years, but I had to do a Spartan lifestyle where we couldn't afford Disneyland passes, and now I think they're about $2,500 a pop. And there's a lot of things we had to cut back: sodas and chips and sweets and stuff. That's all stuff costs money with not need to live on. So um, that's what we had. I cut out of the family and stuff like that. But what had happened is that these people make these allegations, and the CPS think they're for real, and they do really negative. They do negative damage to you, to your children, and it's part of what I call alienation. Alienate is against the law. You cannot alienate somebody. Custody battles go through alienation all the time, and they try to alienate the parents from the children, and that is wrong. That should not happen that way. So, that being said, I think it's very, very, very important that that you're very careful what you say and so forth. And again, that rule number 3: you don't talk to social workers. Just no. So that is something that you need to do. Now, my case, because I lost my job. I had lack of income. I had savings, but even my savings were hurt by the financial institutes collapsing. I lost half of my savings because they're invested by a group that didn't invest it very well. And so I lost half my savings. And so here I am with a perfect storm brewing where I lose a job and then CPS is being notified by whoever and things are not true. And it was really kind of like a nightmare. And when I um, was deceived on the, I think it was in June of 2015, is where they got the policeman to pull me over. And how they did that was really tricky. This is where deception is. I go to school every day to take my son to school and pick him up. I do this with all three of my children. I have six total. I have an older group of three and a younger group of three. The older group seems to be doing okay. Um, um, so what was happening is that this detective came and followed me from when I left my school to see where I was going. Now I was going to go pick up my wife, and so I was going a different direction from home. And so I guess he wanted to see what I was doing or something. But apparently, about 15 minutes later, he had a black and white make a U-turn and pull me over. And the black and white officer showed up and said, and I asked him, what can I do and what did I do wrong? And he said, you ran a stop sign. And he looked at me and I looked at him. I said, my mind, because I remember the stop sign and I do a 3 second pauses, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. And I know I did that. And um, what had happened is the detective saw it, not the policeman. And I should have asked the policeman, give me the ticket, we'll go to court about it. But the detective, isn't able to cite the citation because he wasn't working in traffic enforcing. He was lured by social service trying to get me to come into my home. And that's what really took off being really, really, really bad. So I had picked up my son. He said, I order you to go home. Because at first I didn't think I was. I think I was going there. And he said, just order to come home. So I followed him. And he led me back to my house. And when I showed up, it was the most horrific, horrible thing you can imagine seeing. There was three social workers, and there was five firemen, and there was two code enforcement, and three policemen, and the detective. All of them were wearing combo boots. All of them, looked kind of like the mean thing, like something seriously was happening in my home. And I did not know what it is. I looked for see if a fire like that. I live in a private community, not gated community, but a private community, and I have CCNRs. There's a lot of things you can't do, and I don't think you can allow the build something there for outside purposes. Um, so when they showed up, they said, "Well, we need to have you go in there." And at that time, I wish I remembered rule number 3 about not letting the policeman or the social worker in my home. But I thought I could trust them. That was my mistake. You cannot trust them. They're lying. They don't. They use deception. So they were saying it was serious enough for me to show them the house, and I kept looking, and they wouldn't tell me anything. They wouldn't. They're very vague on what they do things, and like a fool, I believed them. I believed in the police. I believed in the social workers that they're honest. And same thing with the firemen and the code enforcement. So everybody came into my yard, and code enforcement said something wrong with my fence. He said the gate's loose, needs to be tightened up, and that's pretty much all he found there. Um, there was um, there was these guys all dressed in fatigues, combat boots, traipsing up the stairs, leaving dirt and soil all over the stairs. Then they go into our master bedroom and they step on the white lounge chair, breaking the bamboo that supports it. And while they're talking about how neat this house is really cool. A walk-in swimming pool, jacuzzi. It was pretty much a state-of-the-art home. And so the firemen were sitting there measuring the smoke alarms, make sure they guess they're installed correctly. And then code enforcement was also looking to make sure the back door was secured and there was a perimeter fence around the dog area that they were looking out the window. And when they looked out the window, They made a comment about, oh, look at that nice swimming pool. It's a walk-in, a jacuzzi. They were more admiring my house, and in their conversation, they weren't saying anything, oh, this house is terrible. Well, what they did get me, or what they did tell me, is that you can't have boxes piled up. You can't have furniture piled up. It may endanger the kids. And so the reason why I had that is I told you that perfect storm where I lost my job and lost half of retirement. And I was living on retirement, still looking for work. I had work one time there, but I am um, still remembering what it did to me. Um, I don't know uh, the feeling I got, but it was very emotional. And my wife wasn't there. My son was with us, was with me walking, and he couldn't quite understand what's happening. And the knowledge was the kids' own bedrooms, which were nice and clean and respectable. The furniture could have walked up the stairs and attacked the kids, I guess, or the boxes stacked too high could walk up the stairs and attack the kids. That's what they're implying. That's what they were saying. So uh, they proceeded to go through the house, and they thought it was extreme enough to take my three children. So they took my son, and they took the other two children who were at school. One was in a private school, one was in a middle school, and they took them and put them into a shelter um, next to the police station. Excuse me, next to the dependency court and next to the jail. There was a federal jail there with a lot of scary um, the smoke alarms. The firemen were measuring the smoke alarms, make sure that they were properly centered and they were properly installed. Code enforcement was checking to see if there was locks on the back door, and that was really important because of the safety concerns. Again, there was locks on the back door. It was deadbolt and chain. There was a perimeter fence around the pool that protected the kids from getting in or so forth. There's a lock on the gate there. So really, all the safety concerns they were trying to find, they couldn't really find anything. And that's another thing too. If they're in your home, they're going to try to find some additional things they can charge you with. And so you got to be careful. Show them your home. You may think they're nice, and you may think they're going to be fair, but they weren't with me. It was terrible. It was so terrible. I got a double whammy. I had a detective investigating the scene so that his prosecuting attorney could bring criminal charges, for endangering the kids. And so far, all they came up with is the boxes could endanger the kids. One thing that did come up that I haven't really um, addressed is the forcefulness of how these policemen were. They had their combat boots, so they took up the mud up the stairs. They walked on my white lounge chair, broke the bamboo, looked outside, and it was terrible. They just really didn't care about you as a human being, and it's a very weird experience. Now I had a predatory loan. I lost my job. I lost half of my retirement. And then I had these harassing phone calls that were not legit, and CPS in my face for 5 years. And finally, they got the police to get them in the home, and now they're making up stories that my father and mother's furniture could attack the children. Now they were dying and they were fading out of the picture, and they'd asked me to take care of the belongings. And at first, I was said yes, but. Um, they were deceptive. They were so mean to me. It's the hardest word. It hurt me because there's my 9-year-old son, the youngest at the time, and this was when I was 65. This was 2015, and he said, "What are they doing to Dad? Why are they doing? Why don't they help out Dad? Maybe they could pay for the storage. Maybe they could help do there. Maybe some other things they could do." because code enforcement cited up that the yard needed trimming, and I didn't have the landscapers out as much as I could because I couldn't afford it. So they had to done, and the gate was loose, and all involved was tightening up some screws. So that being said, um, I could easily do a lot of those fixing things and so forth. So what I want to say is that if I didn't talk to him and didn't let him in there, I probably would have had my kids not taken from me. Also, they cannot take kids from you. They have to have a warrant signed by a judge in a court of law, and the judge is only available Monday through Friday. So if they do it on the weekend, they don't. If they say, we got a warrant today and Saturday, I said, no, you didn't. And the judges, they don't work on Saturday. And so they have to have that. Same way with the police. They cannot go into your home. Now, in extreme cases, they can go. If there's a shooting taking place or someone was found dead, yes, they can go in there and not wait there. But anyway, um, so my kids were hauled off, stolen from my wife and I, and that night, it happened on a Monday. That night, they were taken to this horrible shelter next to the dependency court, next to the prisons, and the shelter was not clean. It wasn't. It was overcrowded, and the outside area was infested with bees. So they had a bee issue. How they're taking care of your children. It really was hard because um, our children were just thrown into this thing they called a shelter, and it was sad. They didn't know what was happening. Again, they will keep the parents and you separated. They won't tell you what's going on. I think there should be change that. I think there should be a weekly meeting where the children and the parents get together and talk about things and where each party is, at, so they can do a family, so bring the family back together, which has really been kind of hard at times because they don't believe in families. I know CPS only think of the dollar. It's $1 billion business. And I'll talk to more in a second, but I want to go over uh, how to be a guest on the show or how they actually show. Again, you can type in your first and last name and put the money and the um. So that night we went down to see our kids and discovered the horrors there. And so we next step that is they do investigations. They must investigate within 24 hours every allegation. It's by law, and they have about 6 months to investigate. And so it isn't going to be over quick. It's not going to be over quick. And so we had a planning meeting to go to where it goes to dispose of the children. Now, this planning meeting is to decide where the kids are going to be because it may take you time to take a parenting class or complete a program or do all that. Now, this planning meeting is only with the social workers and you. And if you have your attorney, it's good to have him there because you don't get your public defender until it goes to trial. And but if the shelter with the kids, because they're in the shelter, I believe 3 days till we finally had a family relative take them in and take care of them. The only thing is, they thought it would be a two. Um, um, so we went to that planning meeting. I think it was on a Friday, and we convinced them that they could stay with my wife's sister and her husband. And my wife's sister and husband took care of them, but they found out it was quite a chore for them because the kids involved homework, they involved transportation to and from the schools. They went to 3 different schools, and there was parent teacher meetings, and there was open house to see how the kids are doing. We were always participating in all those things. We're very active in our kids' school, and our kids were doing quite well. They looked clean cut, and clean, and they were very well taken care of. And so it is with great sadness that one of my children was not returned, and that was my daughter. And she was brainwashed to think that that what CPS was saying was the truth, and that foster care was she should be. And the thing about foster care, there's pros and cons. I have yet heard anything positive about foster care. It's a quick way to adopt a baby. Normal adoption can take years, 5 to 10 years to adopt a child. With with my thought, I was thinking on the uh, at this time, I wanted to address that rule number one. It's very important you have an attorney. It's like a doctor. You do an open heart surgery, you need a professional. These CPS workers, it's very hard to navigate and know all the laws there is. That's why a lawyer is important. And we have one. His name is um, Vincent W. Davis. He is a family law attorney. He knows family law quite well. He has fought CPS and have returned the children. Also, the um, he has also done trial as a trial attorney. He can do trials. He's really qualified in there. He does practice in all the states, Southern California, Northern California, and the 50 states. So if you have a case, um, he will defend you. That's the part you want to talk at the when you talk about the retainer. Now, right now, he's offering a free uh, 30-minute to 90-minute session with him, so he can talk about the strategies, and you're talking to a real attorney to get it straight there. Um, okay, this attorney can be reached, Vincent Davis, at 888-888-6582. Um, as I say, he's a professional attorney. He has filed lawsuits against them and won. He will get your kids back. He's offering right now a 30-minute to a 60-minute session with him to go over his strategies of how to fight CPS and how to get your kids back. On the bottom of your screen, there's a ticket with a website. That website is his calendar. So you can look at that calendar and see if there's a day open that suits you. So when you call into the office at 888-888-6582, tell them that Bob Pace sent you and that you want to see Mr. Davis. And by saying my name, that makes the session not be charged. So it's very important that you do so, and you have that attorney because he'll save your life. I did, but it took me a year and a half into my case. My case was pretty strong for 3 years, and I got two of my children back. The third one I lost, and that was hard. That was really, really, really hard. So that number 888-888-6582. If you want to be a speaker on the show, you can call in there. On there. Also, the number 626-698-0990 is if you want to call right now and be on the show live. I can put you right on my phone. That's my office phone. It is really, really, really good there. Now, if you can't be, but you want to be a later date, you pick one of those 14 time slots that I have. I'm twice a day, 10 o'clock in the morning and 7 o'clock at night. And um, it's very, very important that um, that you call in, because you will save your life and you save mine and make your case a lot better in there. So um, I'd like to get back to what we're talking about. Uh, Also, if any of you have any comments, please type them in. Make sure you put your name and city you're from, and what your allegations are, and your children, and so forth, and how we can help you. So there's two in the room. If you want to text me a message, I can go ahead and pull it up and put it out there, and so forth. There. Now, so I've talked about, rule number one. I want to refresh rule number two is that notebook. And rule number three is you don't talk to CPS and you don't let them in your house. Those are so valuable things you got to remember on this. Now, you're going to come on because in my case, it went on for 3 years. And at that planning meeting, I went to the safety planning meeting where to put the kids, is that I found out something called ICWA. It's the Indian Welfare Child Act of 1979. It was passed in 1979, and it helps protect Indian children to go with their tribal members. CPS will not get involved. They will turn over the kids to the tribe, who will do their education and take care of them. It's really sad because so many Indian children were kidnapped by CPS and put into foster care. So this is to protect the Native American Indians. Now, we all are immigrants, by the way. The Native American Indians were the first ones. So, born here and raised here, that you are a Native American, but you're not an Indian, let's say. So I'm talking about the Native American Indians there. So at the planning meeting, they're supposed to contact the tribes and see if you can be registered or already registered in one of the tribes. Now, fortunately with me, I had discovered my grandmother going through my family's pictures and stuff. And there was a picture of my grandmother. She's my great great grandmother, born in the late 1800s. And she was a Lakota Sioux from what her picture shows. I don't know her Indian name. All I know is I know her white man's name. But supposedly my grandfather came over from Norway, and had married her, and they had my grandfather. So there's lineage in there. But CPS wasn't too helpful at the planning meeting, helping me get the ICWA Act to maybe put my kids in there, because Indians are a lot better. They won't steal children. It's not for money, and it is a lot better. It's definitely a lot better. Now, another thing that will come up to you is you have your day in court where they will bring the charges against you, and then if you have your attorney, you can fight those charges. And you also, if they point out some things like needs parenting class, take them right away. Don't wait to be told. Be proactive and do everything that they ask. Do everything that they ask, and you can do that. But you can imagine, here's a functional family that had some issues, and they now were so bad that they had to put the children in, because after the shelter they went to a group home and then to foster care. And sadly, our youngest daughter was convinced that foster care was the way to go, and that she'll get all her things like Disneyland passes and things like that. So um, so um, I've talked about the ICWA, talked about getting an attorney, talked about the notebook, and talked about not talking to them. And this dependency court hearing will then be your case plan for the whole court, for the whole time of your time fighting CPS. And it's a terrible thing. I really feel so sorry out there, because they put you through so much deceptions and lies. It's very, 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 very bad. So, at this court hearing, I found out and we had a public defender. Let me tell you about public defenders. Public defenders are like lawyers, but they're very inexperienced. They don't fight very well with CPS, and because they're friends of the court, friends of the social worker, friends of the social workers, attorneys. It's a mom and pop kind of culture there. So you're not going to get a fair share, and you really have to be on top of them. Also, I found out that we're not allowed to be in that courtroom the whole time that to talk about your case. So you don't know what wheeling and dealing's doing or what's happening in court. Our judge knew everything is about car accidents, collision claims, and car repairs, but knew nothing about children or getting back your children or anything about families. So you have to be really careful the judge you get, and the way that changes the vote for a judge that's on there. But um, um, we went to the court. I was denied my constitutional rights to be in court. My wife and I were not being there. We were brought in right when everything was done. They said, "All right, Mr. Pace and Mrs. Pace, your plan is such and such that you're found guilty of neglect with your children and uh, with you being charged by the city of further neglect." And the charge, they wanted to see how that was going to play out before they did anything. But they said, "Here's your plan. Meanwhile, the kids will be put in a group home." Now, group homes, this one's being run by Boys Town. And Boys Town is an organization that takes care of children that don't have parents. But when you have parents, they don't know how to run a group home. My son was scolded because he drank too much orange juice or take away points he worked so hard on, and he was in tears about that. They really don't know how to really handle children or treat them with decency or medical things there. Hmm. So we left that courtroom, and it was a bad time leaving. My wife was so emotionally wrecked that she left, and I was alone in the home, and we could see our kids, but very limited. It got worse and worse as time went on. And one of the reasons why I was fighting CPS, I was fighting the social workers, I was fighting the management. I found out that it's $1 billion business. They're in there for money because they get lots of money. I'm not talking one or two thousand. I'm talking $15,000, $20,000 per month per child. So I'm talking about a lot of money. And you put that with 100 children, that's a lot of money. And their building, where the head honcho worked out of, was a state of the art. It was very well to do, glass and architectural things. It was like the Taj Mahal. And the managers were in there too. So I appealed to everybody. I appealed to the social service manager, the CPS guru guy, and all the things there. I found out that the social workers are not have to have certificates or training, no big college or anything. They don't have a license or they don't have any kind of certificate that has to be renewed or anything. There's no checks and balances with the social worker. They're more interested in their bonuses they get for keeping the children in the system. My social worker, every time we met, would sit there and see my new Gucci purse, see my new makeup, my fingernails, whatever it was. They got lots of help. Um, um, they got lots of help helping out um, with the children were put in this group home and they weren't getting the help I was trying to say. They're upset about it because they had to take one of my kids to private school, and that was wrong. Um, your educational, there's something called educational and medical rights. Do not give them up. Do not uh, do not give them up. It's very important that you keep those rights no matter what. And there's another form you have to be careful about. It's called a PSA. It's a professional service agreement, and it's a binding agreement, and it's between two entities. Don't let CPS trick you into signing an agreement to give up something, or the only way you're going to see your kids. Now, when we go there for the monitor visits in the group home, the children were told to put their hands at their side. And by the way, we did not see our daughter. She had already been brainwashed, thinking her parents were awful. And at first, the mother saw her, the dad didn't see her. But she was convinced they're awful, so she was always away when we came to visit at the home. And so she wasn't there for us to see. And it's sad because I've not seen her since she's 12. And so here at the group home, and the kids can't hold you, can't hug you. They're told to put their hands at the side and not discuss any issue. And that's why it's wrong to keep the children and the parents in dark, because they don't know what's going on. It's very important that they know what is going on. I think it should be transparent, because the children think they're abandoned. And they're going to have negative thoughts of their parents. They're not going to have positive thoughts. And I know that the foster care people and the group home and the worker herself did not treat my kids in respect. So that was hard to see too. So looks like we may get a call coming in. Okay. Hello, this is Bob Pace. Who am I speaking to?
Hi, you're speaking to Shy.
Uh, is it Shaw, like SHAW?
Sky.
Oh, you're speaking to Sky. Okay. And what city and state are you from?
I was in Ohio. I just moved to Texas.
Okay, so you're in Ohio, and you just moved to Texas. What is your involvement with CPS? So do you have allegations against you?
Yeah, I had beat CPS before when I was in Ohio. Then I just moved to Texas. I had got into a situation with me and my daughter. She is 18, and we had an argument. I wanted her to leave for a few hours so we could just calm down. She ended up calling the police, and when they came, they decided to arrest me, and they hit me with a felony 3,
Okay.
breath impeding me or something, basically saying that I was trying to choke her out, which was a false report.
All right.
So now my daughter, she's trying to get it off, but other than that, I had went to jail, and then CPS showed up at the jail and was like, well, in the state of Texas, we automatically get caught if it's a domestic violence. And I was like, well, my kids wasn't at the house. My little kids was not home at the time, so I was trying to figure out why they was involved in them in everything. So what the police did after I got arrested, he went up to my kids' school and put an emergency protection order. And they said I couldn't go back home for 61 days.
Okay. Now, let's start where it first started involvement, is in Ohio. Now, that 18-year-old daughter, how old was she when she was in Ohio?
She was 17.
17. And so she was giving you trouble when she was 17, right?
I'm sorry?
She was giving you trouble when she was 17?
Yes. Not really like that, but she feel like she's 18 now, so you can't tell her anything, but she still lives with me, so.
Yeah, but if she's 18, CPS cannot be involved because of her age. So,
right.
So it's not juvenile matter anymore. It now becomes there.
Right.
So what were they accusing you in Ohio? What were they accusing you?
I had got arrested because I had fell asleep in a parked car. And I guess someone had called and said that I had my kids in the car. My kids were not in the car. So I really don't even know how CPS got involved in that situation, but It was a lot of my family members trying to, make
Anytime,
allegations, and I was locked up.
what were you arrested for? What were you arrested for, Sky?
It's not driving. It wasn't a DUI, but it was I was passed out in the car
Okay.
from drinking.
All right. So you're arrested criminally for alleged that you were passed out in your car, and then your kids were being neglected because you weren't watching them, right?
Yeah, but I didn't have my kids with me.
Okay. So how did they come up with that you're neglecting your kids? I know where they're going to go with this.
Because they tried to say, even though I left my kids to my sister, she was willing to keep them. They said that I didn't sign a release form for her to be able to sign or give them care or anything. So they
wait a minute. You don't have to sign any forms if they're just babysitting the kids while you were out and about, and apparently you had fallen asleep because you had one too many to drink, right?
Yeah, so they saying since I got arrested, since I was incarcerated, that was neglect itself.
Right. Well,
even though
they're saying if you get arrested, how can you take care of the kids? Now, you should be able to tell you at the planning meeting, the safety planning meeting, you should have said they can stay with my sister or my mom and dad or my grandparents. All right. And why did they say they refused to do that?
They did let my kids stay with my sister, but they said they still have to get involved because it's still
right. They have to get involved because your kids you are neglecting in that being incarcerated. So that part's fine. So you went through that in Ohio. How old were the other kids besides your daughter being 17? How old were the other kids?
This was all a year ago before I left.
I know, but how old were the kids?
3 and 7.
3 and 7. So we have a 17-year-old, a 3 and 7. Now, is the father with the kids? Was he around, or were you a single parent?
Yeah, I'm a single parent.
Okay, so he didn't want anything to do with the kids, I guess, when he didn't want to take care of the children, right?
No, he was helping too, but my kids, they was at my sister's, and said they always go to her on the weekends, so I just was like, they can stay there.
All right. So then you moved from Ohio to Texas. Was your case closed in Ohio?
Yes.
Okay, so you did.
And I had a public defender.
And how did he work out?
With the public defender?
Yeah, how did he work out?
It was a female. Every time you get a public defender, you don't know if they're really on their side or not. So at first, I really didn't know what was going on. It was a lot of arguing, back and forth with everybody. But it turns out good.
Oh,
I ended up getting my kids back.
I agree.
They put me through a lot of little loops and stuff, but
so now what has happened is you moved down to Texas with your two little ones and your older one, and now your older one called in on you about what did they allegate now as you did in Texas?
Yes.
What did you do in Texas?
They said they arrested me for assault.
They arrested you for what?
Assault.
Who did you assault?
Yes.
Who did you assault?
My daughter called the police, so they said that I assaulted her.
Okay, but your daughter's 18, so she can be technically treated as an adult, and they can do a restraining order, but then they got the problem who's going to watch the kids. So the social workers probably got called by the police, and by law, the police have to call the social workers, and they are investigating allegations of your arrest with your child. Okay, so now what happened then? They take away your child right away?
No, my kids are all at home. I haven't been able to go home.
Okay.
And I actually got caught with my kids a couple of days before Christmas.
Okay, and you didn't have monitor rights to see them?
No.
Okay. This is at a critical time here because I'm close to the end of my show. And
Oh,
what I could do for you, Sky, is that you could call back later and be on my evening show if you can talk to me
what time?
at 7 o'clock tonight,
Okay.
Pacific Standard Time. You're in Texas, so you're 2 hours ahead of me. So that'd be 9 o'clock your time. And
Okay.
so you could call in, and there's several ways. You either call the 888-888-6582 number, which is my office, tell them that Bob Pace sent you and that you want to be on tonight's show. Or if tonight's not good enough, you can be on the show tomorrow morning or tomorrow night. I'm on 14 days, 7 days, twice a day, 14 different shows. So you got a lot to pick from.
Okay.
So you can range it
Okay. Well,
so you can be there.
I'll try to call.
Okay.
I'll try to call back tonight at 9, and because I do want
Well,
to give a couple
well, if
people
you call back
that
at
don't
9,
have enough money for a lawyer, want
Yeah.
to give them a little hope.
right? Well, if you call back, you can call my office phone like you did now, and you can call that one if you don't want to schedule a time with them. I'm just saying there may be other
Okay.
people scheduled tonight that want to talk. I'm saying the great way to
Okay.
get to be on the show to talk about your case is to schedule at 888-888-6582. Sky, hang on
I
to the.
called a couple of days ago, and they said that you was going to give me a call back. I never got a call back.
Well, I apologize. You need to call him again and say Bob Pace told you
Okay.
that you could be on the show there. Okay.
Okay.
Stand by, Sky. I'm going to sign off because I'm over my time. For all you listeners out there, thank you very much for listening and continue to listen. I love to hear from your comments, and I love to be on the show. As I told Sky, you can call 888-888-6582 and schedule a time to be on the show. Again, it's 7 days a week, 10 o'clock in the morning and 7 o'clock at night, except Sundays at 10:30, and that's Pacific Standard Time. Also, you need that number one rule there. You need to have that attorney, and right now, very fortunate that we have an attorney at the law firm. His name is Vincent W. Davis. He's a family law attorney. He has fought CPS, and he knows how to fight them and get your kids back. Also, he is a trial attorney, and he will go other states. He can do Southern California, Northern, and other states. And when you sit down with them, you make sure you call 888-888-6582, schedule a time with them. Make sure that you tell the office Bob Pace sent you. And when you speak to Mr. Davis, you say Bob Pace sent you there too. So he has won cases against CPS. He can fight. He's actually filed lawsuits and won cases. So with that said there, make sure that he's offered a 30-minute to 60-minute session with him to strategize how he can help your case. By the way, it's free. A lot of you use my name, and you won't be any charge there. And so with that said, I thank you all for listening. And don't give up on your kids. Don't give up on your CPS case. Keep fighting out there. And I'll see you later tonight at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So good luck with your case. Don't give up. And I want you to have a really good New Year and much success and happiness. And God bless you. And again, thank you. And this is Bob Pace signing off.